All right.
All right.
Excellent THX, Garth.
Good work, my friend.
Hey, you know where this advanced sound technology would really work great?
Gee, I wonder where, Wayne.
Why, in a sequel.
Well now, 1993 was a big year for the movies. We had the introduction of a new horror icon. The Evil Dead movies became a trilogy. Turtles went back in time. Siskel gave Ebert a piece of his mind over Cop and a Half.
Wow, where's your big red suit and beard, Santa? You just gave them a gift.
The Sandlot. We got the first big screen movie based off a video game. That flopped. The first black superhero. Henry Selick making a name for himself with The Nightmare Before Christmas. And the movie about dinosaurs surpassed all expectations and became the #1 movie of the year at the box office. That is if I can remember which one. I think it was Carnosaur because I know Prehysteria was released straight to video, but oh well, we can't be right all the time. And what better way to unleash a season of Oscar contenders, big major season tentpoles, than the holiday season? A perfect time for studios to give that one last minute chance to see if they could do right or redeem themselves. Because let me tell you, some studios like Sony and Paramount were really hurting around this time. Sony suffered a major loss with their overly hyped Last Action Hero, which even I didn't think was that bad. And even if Paramount had commercial success with the firm and indecent proposal, it was not enough to save them from the other entries they had this year, some of which flopped pretty hard at the box office. Would there be redemption in sight, or did Hollywood studios gamble way too big this time around? Well, before we answer those questions, we gotta go over the ground rules of these specials. First, I'm only covering movies that were released theatrically to theaters. No direct-to-video or telefilms. Second, I'm only going by domestic releases. Anything that was seen outside of America doesn't quite count. And finally, most important, I'm only looking at movies that were released between November and December. After all, those are when the big hitters came out. On a side note, I might not cover every single movie that was released in this time frame, either due to availability of said film, or in some cases, they decided to debut themselves a little too early, if you know what I mean. I'm especially looking at you, Remains of the Day. If you didn't expose yourself 1 month before, I would have had my first Anthony Hopkins movie on these holiday specials. Oh well, one can dream. No time to dawdle, let's dive right into November where we kick off with a turkey of a flick.
You called for backup?
Oh, I didn't say it was an enjoyable one compared to the last 3 marathons we had. No. Because as it turns out, Robocop 3 is by far one of the worst sequels I have ever seen. The first Robocop is a pure masterpiece. The second one is flawed, but it has enjoyable moments. This one is pure garbage. Should I really whip this dead horse a new one? It was held off from its mid-1982 release due to trouble with Orion Pictures going bankrupt. At this point, the entire movie was already spoiled thanks to its video game adaptation being released early and bootleg copies of the movie circulating months in advance. One of my favorite jokes from the Beavis and Butthead Christmas special where they parody It's a Wonderful Life and Christmas carols where they're flipping through the channels and they see this.
Thanks, Robocop. You saved Christmas.
You know, for the longest time, I always joked around what it would be like to have a Robocop Christmas special. But no. Little did I know, it actually existed. And its name was Robocop 3. It uses the holiday season as a backdrop as the cybernetic officer tries to help hordes of civilians being evicted by force for a new city. This is a sequel that feels dull and watered down. Gone is the sharp and dark satire, and instead we get lame one-liners and cliché action scenes. Characters we grew to enjoy in previous entries get unfairly shafted, and new additions get tagged on in the most uncomfortable of ways. There's a little girl who befriends Robocop, and for the most part, we think his mission is to save her parents. Spoiler alert! As if anyone cares.
Her beloved long-lost explorer/father is dead. Dead! She is alone, abandoned, bereft, be-orphaned, Beelzebub, be-Arthur, whatever.
Not even robot samurais or Rip-Torn replacements can save this frustrating train wreck. There is little to nothing I can think of here that is truly worthy.
You may want to call the fire department.
Okay, except that one-liner. Come to think of it, that's probably the only line that's actually well delivered here. And man, do I owe Mr. Cope my condolences. No wonder he named Robocop 3 one of the worst sequels a while ago. So we started things off on a sour note, but let's see if the next movie can put us back in the holly jolly spirit.
Hello, honey.
Two bad sequels that utilize Christmas into their movies and release on the same weekend? What are the odds? Look Who's Talking Now is a margin better than its last entry, but it still sucks as a whole. With Mikey and Julie grown out of the toddler phase, where Bruce Willis and Roseanne voice their inner thoughts, it seems like this could lead to some interesting things, like hearing the kids' views from the world straight from their mouths.
Going to the dogs.
I got papers.
Papers.
Let's move it.
Move on this. Kid, get me out of here.
Look who's talking now.
This is where we live.
Nice cushy thing to sleep on. A little lumpy.
So much for going in a bold direction with these things. Let's just do the same thing, but with dogs. Instead, the family is having a blue Christmas, while Danny DeVito and Diane Keaton try to liven things up as the voices of Rox and Daphne.
Look, they like each other.
Mongrel.
Bitch.
Okay, that was actually kind of funny. But even then, laughs are pretty void here. This trailer doesn't even show the most bizarre parts, like cheating on your boss daydreaming, depressing chipmunk Christmas caroling, Mikey's venture to see if Santa is real, and a third act that is so bonkers it feels ripped from a 1960s Disney movie. Hell, it ends with a random music video with a French pop star that comes right the hell out of nowhere. It's like if a producer that worked on All I Want for Christmas felt disappointed by the lackluster response and wondered, how could this all be improved? They see an advanced screening of Homeward Bound and think, yeah, that's what was missing this whole time. Dogs! And while that gimmick worked in Homeward Bound better because the drama and emotion was deeply felt, the tone here is more comedic, so it just feels like desperation. It would be something if all the dog stuff was akin to the baby's point of view gags, but it doesn't. The flip side is that a film like this can be pretty fun to watch on first time with unexpected twists like this.
Santa doesn't want you to be a naughty girl.
Who are you, his mother?
I'm a Vulcan. How would you like a little death grip?
Well now, who knew this was in canon with the Star Trek universe? Even then, I still can't recommend it. Much like with Robocop 3, it's a tired gimmick that lost steam and just randomly tosses plot lines to see what truly sticks. And I ask out of pure irony, how is it that The Nightmare Before Christmas understands the holly jolly season more than these two? Thankfully, our next feature is neither a sequel or a Christmas movie. Flesh and Bone stars Dennis Quaid as a traveling vendor that runs into a stripper played by Meg Ryan with a mysterious past, and the two might be connected in some way. It's worth it just for the performances alone between Quaid and Ryan, but there's one major weak link that brings the whole feature down. James Caan plays an important cog that is related to Quaid's character, but he feels greatly miscast here. This part alone feels like it could be perfect for someone along the lines of Christopher Walken or Dennis Hopper, someone who can be really unhinged and crazy. James Caan never came that way across to me. It's just a little too underperformed, and it really messes with the second half when it tries to be intense. For the most part, I say see it at least for the first half, but once James Caan shows up, the whole thing just starts to derail. This is starting to become a really shaky start to the holiday season. I'm sick of the sequel way, and I'm tired of the Christmas way. It's best we go in a different direction. Perhaps Carlito's way can put us in a better path. Directed by Brian De Palma, this is by far an underrated masterpiece. Al Pacino plays a criminal that vows to retire from his crooked ways, but that proves to be difficult when one thing leads to another. The less said, the better, because this movie truly delivers. Carlito ends up being an interesting character as he tries to turn over a new leaf, but elements of his past haunt him to the point you feel there's no escape after so much he's done. Not only does Pacino give one of his best performances, and perhaps one of his most sympathetic, but even Sean Penn is a nice surprise too, as Carlito's slimy lawyer that starts to become more corrupted than his client. Come to think of it, this makes for a great watch after Godfather Part 2. Let this be the true Kota. It actually feels fitting. Sad to say, the reception for Carlito's Way was not good. Compared to some of the other movies Brian De Palma created prior, critical reception was lukewarm, and the box office taken was not commercially successful, just barely covering its $30 million budget. But thankfully the cult following has gotten better with time. This one is not worth skipping over. It has one of the most nail-biting chase scenes I've ever seen, and you will never look at John Leguizamo the same way after seeing this. You know, Brian De Palma actually put a little more hope in me than I expected. Bring forth another sequel.
It was a secret of history that couldn't stay hidden forever.
Well, that would mean that the crown jewels residing in the Tower of London are fakes.
Absolutely.
Hey, looks like GoldenEye came out a couple years early. Wait a minute, this is too cheap to be a James Bond movie. And yet it looks pretty epic.
All the world wants what Dr. Abner Mellon has found.
Ooh, the suspense is killing me already. What could it be?
And only one man stands beside him.
Just when I thought I was done, Ernest P. Worrell pulls me back in. It's no surprise to say I'm not a big fan of the Ernest movies, but I do have a soft spot for one or two of them. I didn't bother covering Ernest Rides Again during Ernest Month many years ago because I started getting fatigued after Ernest Scared Stupid. It's a shame because despite its cheapness, Rides Again is not that bad, but you have to be in the right state of mind for it. Ernest P. Worrell teams up with a professor to find a set of rare crown jewels that are said to be hidden within an ancient cannon. And a good bulk of that movie is just Ernest riding that thing around town. Well, what more can you expect? I will be nice to this one, given it didn't annoy me as much as the other sequels, and it opens up with a funny Mr. Bill short that is damn hilarious.
Like Sluggo Hussein.
Oh no, so what does he want now?
He just wants to give us what we've hoped for all along.
The new peace treaty?
No, all the oil you could ever want.
No, don't do that, no!
Jim Varney is the kind of character actor that will take nothing and fly with it. You can tell he puts his own soul and doesn't phone it in. He's having a good time with this role and savors every second. He really does carry this one, even if some of his scenes where he mugs the camera and monologues go on for a little too long. I kind of feel bad this one didn't do well at the box office, resulting in future entries to go straight to home video. It's a step above Ernest Scared Stupid, but not as classic as Ernest Goes to Jail. Besides, I'll gladly take an Ernest movie any day, in comparison to what we have next.
The fact is, I'm supposed to be dying. Now the tricky part here is you're about to be born. So I wanted to leave you this videotape so that you know something about me.
My life sucks. But Life Stinks is arguably the better movie in comparison. You know you're in trouble when the title of your movie is prone to a bad gag like that. The concept I can get behind, as Michael Keaton plays a guy who is diagnosed with cancer and videotapes himself for his unborn son before the illness takes its toll. There is promise here given Jerry Zucker produced this movie, who wanted to branch off from comedy after the success with Ghost. But man, the tone is so all over the map that it feels like an accidental comedy. There are strange scenes that get unintentional chuckles, like when Keaton's character gets treatment from a Chinese healer named Mr. Ho.
I so wish I was making that up.
And every touch of Ho's fingers allows him to see visions of stars and things. One moment, Keaton will be trying to give an Oscar-worthy performance, but then he'll do something slapsticky, like from his Mr. Mom days. I really want to give this movie the benefit of the doubt, but I can't when it ends on the most baffling and awkwardly funny of things, having him ascend to heaven via roller coaster. It's bizarre enough to the point I almost want to recommend those to seek it if they want something backguano crazy. But nah, you're better off seeing something a bit more prestige from Keaton's filmography, like Birdman or Clean and Sober.
Ugh,
Better mosey back to the high-concept tentpoles. And while we don't have an animated Disney movie this year, we do have one in live action that's pretty cool.
All for one, more for me. The Three Musketeers.
A-list cast, solid sword fighting, and Tim Curry? Oh, the joy. My childhood heart beats so victoriously. My life didn't suck after all. Stephen Herrick's adaptation of The Three Musketeers might not be the most accurate to the source, but screw it. It's a cool movie. The casting is perfect, everyone is clearly having a good time during the action scenes, and I will admit, pre-Robin Crystal Donald is good as Dark Artanian. The atmosphere all around is fun and vibrant to the point I didn't mind the delivery of the one-liners. They are said in a straight manner that makes them sound cooler than they actually appear on paper, and I attribute that to the performances alone.
Champagne? We're in the middle of a cave, Porthos. You're right. Something red.
We must pray for our sins. Second thought, God's often busy.
And with a flick of my wrist, I could change your religion.
The only baffling thing about this movie is seeing 8th Doctor Paul McGann show up as Gerard, and not recognizing him. How is that even possible? It's interesting given The Three Musketeers was a success at the box office, but not as much Disney hoped it would. After a positive test screening, the executives expected this to be a hit, but it ended up getting a massive negative reception from critics and enthusiasts of the novel. Truly as writer Alexandre Dumas intended. The way it was meant to be seen. I feel other takes like the Salkin produced version had a bigger flair of camp compared to this one, so why not let it bask in its own? I say, give this one another chance. It makes for a great double feature with The Rocketeer. Also underrated is the dark comedy Ed and His Dead Mother. Steve Buscemi is actually charming here as a guy still mourning over the loss of his mom and decides that a resurrector would help him a fishy salesman played by John Glover. While there is a lack of gore, I think this movie works better without it. It's proof that less is more, and what's left of the imagination of the viewer is gruesome and funnier. If you go in with an open mind, you'll have a good time. I especially dig the subplot where a neighbor played by Sam Jenkins is constantly being peeped on by Ed's father, played by the late Ned Beatty. The twist is that she thinks Ed is the one spying on her, and that apparently gets her interested in him.
My name's Storm. As in electrical.
Already a better love story than half of the crud I see today. I also enjoyed Miriam Magoyles as the resurrected mother. She is just straight up insane. One minute she's nice and quirky, but then she'll go after the love interest with a drivable lawnmower. It boggles my mind as to how I've never heard of this movie up until now, but its release strategy explains enough. It was released to a simple single theater in Los Angeles and never got a wide release. And for its low $1.8 million budget, it only grossed back $673. Wow. They really never gave this flick a chance and just buried it deep into the earth. While it's no masterpiece like, say, Death Becomes Her or Freaked, it's definitely unique in its own right, and I'd say it's worth checking out for its crazy scenes and wild setup. This is one that I feel truly deserves a cult following and some kind of rediscovery. Another unfair flop was The Saint of Fort Washington. This one really tries to show the world of the homeless in a more understanding light while presenting the hardships along the way. The movie stars Matt Dillon and Danny Glover, who try to make their way through life, washing windshields of cars and looking out for each other. This tries to provide things in a more realistic manner in comparison to something more over-exaggerated like The Fisher King or Home Alone 2.
I think you kindly, ma'am. May all your children be white. Thanks a lot. May all your children be white.
Too easy. The only thing that doesn't work is a bully at a shelter played by Ving Rhames, who seeks to be higher than them. I understand they want a reason for these two to avoid the homeless shelter, but we already got a good idea alone with the other attendants who lewd others at night. Outside of that, the performances are great, and you really get this documentary feel from the whole experience.
Document to style my rear. I've been cleaning windshields for a long time now, and they don't pay in dollar bills, but Oreo cookies. All I just wanted was $1.
Even when these guys are down their luck, they still push forward and hope for the best. It is really the pure definition of a feel-good movie. Now that things are looking brighter, let's switch back to the sequels. And I sense that something is being delivered. A little stranger, creepy, kooky, and eerie that is about to be blossomed over the Thanksgiving weekend.
Go ahead! What news?
Father, what is it?
It's an Addams.
No, it's a sequel. And apparently I reviewed twice on this show. I will try to avoid rehashing the same critical assessment I gave this one not once but twice, so I'll give it this much. Addams Family Values works great as a sequel. It's darker, funnier, and really pulls its punches in trying to be something different. The Addams get a new baby, Wednesday and Pugsley fight back at a stereotypically white summer camp, and Fester finds love with a vicious killer posing as a nanny.
He likes you.
I'm good with my hands.
I recall seeing this one a lot as a kid and really enjoying it more than the first. But over time I've come to appreciate both movies, even if I will lean a hair more towards the first one. Bottom line, I love these two. I really do. They carry more weight and respect to the original Charles Addams cartoons.
Women must follow you everywhere.
Star detectives.
More so than Addams Family Reunion and those two animated movies we got later on. Come to think of it, those are probably best to be skipped. Don't even bother. Stick with these two. And they make a perfect double feature for not just Halloween, but also Thanksgiving Day. Last year I enjoyed Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant for its shock value and provocative look into a corrupted cop, but I'm not too sure about his offering this year Dangerous Game. And because it had its premiere first over in Venice, it immediately cancels out any chance of it getting covered here. So for those who are curious to know, let's take it over to Siskel and Ebert and hear what they thought about it.
I thought most of this film was overwrought baloney, with lots of cruelty popping up when writer Nicholas St. John and director Abel Ferrara couldn't think of anything substantial to do. Dangerous Game, by all reports, was a troubled production. I think you can see the trouble right on the screen. Anger alone does not equal the story.
You know, I think with your little phrase there, overwrought baloney, you kind of summed up my feelings about this movie. I really thought it was a waste of time. Boy. It's kind of like marked down bargain basement Cassavetes, in which everybody kind of lets everything hang out and you find out all the emotions behind the scenes. But Cassavetes did it very well, and this movie is simply a mess. We don't feel we're behind any reels. We always feel like we're in front of the scenes, whether they're making the movie or not.
It's junk and it's just cheap exploitation.
Boy, did I dodge a bullet with that one. However, our next movie on the roster, I sadly cannot avoid.
Man's best friend.
Man, O'Malley, I so wanted to give this one a fair chance. I heard many things about Man's Best Friend, and I was ready to see why this one gets a cult following. But, I'm sorry, this one was a hard sit. There was a moment here and there I kind of enjoyed, but it was difficult to justify if this was a straight horror or a movie that was unintentionally hilarious. The plot focuses on a genetically enhanced dog named Max that a reporter takes home, unaware of its devious nature. For when she turns away, the beast is attacking mailmen, eating cats whole, and sexually assaulting Lassie. Yep, in a movie that involves a genetically enhanced super dog that doesn't know whether it wants to be a dark comedy or a straight-up horror, that actually happens. I know this flick has a cult following, and there are some who get their sick kicks from this. For me, when I boil everything down, it's hard for me to find anything enjoyable when you have a dog that is constantly being abused.
We are talking about $1 million research album.
Thank you, Max. Sweet.
Dear Ellie Sheedy, I believe you were doing better when you romanced a robot back in the 1980s. Despite the best efforts of his adopted owner, Max gets turned into this genetic brute that eventually keeps getting kicked around and constantly hurt. By the time Max is forced to live under an abusive auto mechanic, any care I had with this movie is left at the front door, and I just sat there, waiting for this thing to end soon. But hey, don't take my word for it. Here's Joe Bob Briggs with the drive-in totals.
7 dead bodies, bicycle chewing, cat eating, ankle chewing, parrot eating, 2 motor vehicle chases, and of course, fire hydrant food. 3 stars, bad doggy.
When in doubt, leave the die-hard enthusiasts with something nice and delicate after you chewed their favorite flick a new one. If you know what I mean. All I can say is this next movie better be better than the last one.
In 2 weeks, they've traveled 5,000 miles in a stolen Grand Prix.
Huh. Is Smokey and the Bandit getting a reboot?
They're headed for the Canadian border, and there's only one thing that can stop them. The 7th grade.
It's official. I found something far worse than Robocop 3. Hey kids, remember the days when family movies about running away were cool like The Wizard or Follow That Bird? This movie is none of those. To describe the plot and what happens is just pure insanity. It's about 2 brothers caught in the middle of a divorce who go on a cross-country trip to escape from their derailed family. The older brother, Josh, convinces his younger brother that he's a genetically enhanced mutant, and he goes along with it. I love how the trailers don't even explain how they get the car, because even that's a doozy to explain. They trick an attendant at a high school convention that they're his sons, and the guy drives them to what he thinks is their home when it's just a random house. Once the guy catches on, he goes after Josh, think that they committed murder, they go on the lam with his rental car, and that's just one fraction of what is wrong with this picture. I would be okay with the pure insanity of their journey, stealing from ATMs or lying to pizza delivery guys, but the way Josh mistreats Sam is so unforgiven that it sours the movie for me. All throughout, he keeps tricking Sam into thinking he's this superhuman, and not once does he break the ice. He even convinces Sam to get a tan, making him believe that it will short-circuit the negative things in his brain or something like that. This makes North look nice in comparison, because none of this is a dream. The more they go on this journey, there is absolutely zero sympathy I have for these 2. Even more baffling is how most streaming services don't offer the option to rent, so you have no choice but to shell out $15 to buy and see it. And in standard definition, I might add. The more I think about it, as bad as Robocop 3 was, that was just a lame movie with a handful of decent one-liners. This feature has few to little redeeming qualities whatsoever. All I can say is the next flick better be a step up.
His marriage is ending.
My marriage is not ending. It's just on hiatus.
Well, already had a good start. Let's see, Robin Williams playing a dad who gets divorced from Sally Fields and has a hard time trying to connect with the kids he loves. Perfect fodder for Thanksgiving Day.
Placing an ad for a housekeeper.
Housekeeper? Could you make me a woman?
Oh, they just do some makeup work to turn him into a nanny. That's something.
Euphigenia Doubtfire. Papa's got a brand new bag.
Who am I kidding myself? This movie's awesome.
Oh, you bet your sweet rump I grew up on Mrs. Doubtfire. It was one of the few PG-13 rated movies my mother allowed me to watch, and I couldn't thank her enough for that. At the time, my parents were going through a divorce, so it helped me to cope through it. Granted, the whole experience wasn't a comedy, but the message at the end regarding how love prevails no matter what families go through still sticks with me. On top of that, it's sweet, funny, quotable, and a perfect piece of 1990s culture. Also, it's kind of amusing to see the genie go toe-to-toe with Remington Steele.
The terrorists, they ran that way. It was a run by fruiting.
No wonder this made a killing at the box office.
It was the second highest grossing movie of 1983, just right behind Jurassic Park, and has remained a beloved crowd pleaser ever since.
Which says a lot given the next three movies on our roster had a lot to live up to, and boy did they fail.
First up were two offerings by Warner Brothers, one of which gets screwed over pretty hard. The Nutcracker was a project the heads of Warner Brothers were passionate about doing, and even hired Emile Odolino to direct, well known for Sister Act and Dirty Dancing. Macaulay Culkin was cast as the titular prince, having performed in the Nutcracker before with the School of American Ballet in 1989 and 1990.
There's an infamous story that goes Culkin's dad, who was also his agent at the time, refused any form of press media, Culkin's likenesses on any of the posters, if certain demands were not met with the final cut, such as the removal of Kevin Kline's narration. However, the filmmakers relented, the narration of Kevin Kline was kept in, and unfortunately, Macaulay Culkin was denied any interviews talking about the movie, or even the likeness plastered on the poster to sell the flick. Which says a lot given the cool Drew Struzan poster we almost got.
The biggest shock to the Shammies was the double whammy of the movie being a box office bomb despite its near $20 million budget, but also, this was the last movie Emile directed as he died a couple of days before the Nutcracker's release.
This movie has curse deeply written all over compared to any attempt or any film adaptation of Don Quixote combined.
I guess I will be fair and say this one I also grew up a lot watching, and it did provide my interest in visual art for stuff like Fantasia and so forth. It's a nice attempt at translating the ballet show to the screen, and does it faithfully. The dance scenes are well shot, and you can tell there was care in how certain moments of the show would translate to film. However, I gotta admit, there's better out there. If you want something more dynamic, check out the 1986 film made by the Pacific Northwest Ballet with production design by Maurice Sendak. It took a while for me to warm up to this take, but it has grown on me. Or check out Mark Morris Dance Group's warped take with The Hard Nut, which takes the traditional story and fuses it with a 1960s aesthetic of post-war America that is probably my favorite of the Nutcracker adaptations.
Or, worst case scenario, just see the ballet.
The other Warner Brothers tentpole that bombed was Clint Eastwood's A Perfect World, which is a shame because I felt this was one of Eastwood's most underrated entries. Set in 1963, Kevin Costner plays Butch, an escaped ex-convict that takes a young boy hostage who was raised in a Jehovah's Witness family home. As they go along, Butch starts to be more fatherly to the kid by showing how unlimited and open life is.
Both of us is handsome devils. We both like RC Cola. And neither one of us got an old man worth a damn.
What makes it more conflicting is how Butch shows these life lessons along the way, but only when certain people rub him the wrong way, say a father mistreats his children and things like that. It's enough for you to draw your own conclusion on whether Butch is doing right, even when we know the audience, it's kind of wrong the way he's teaching it. This is the kind of movie you really need to go in blind and not know much about. It's up there with Dog Day Afternoon and Falling Down, where the situation snowballs into something worse as events transpire. It also serves as unique criticism of the overglorification of gun violence, as Eastwood stages certain gunshot moments when they're necessary to the scene. It either cuts away to avoid showing the blow, or it will do if it's required. While The Perfect World was not a big hit domestically, it did do better overseas. I really feel this is one that shouldn't go ignored given how much has changed in today's social climate, and I can see this one holding up well in today's world that questions so many life values.
Come to think of it, it's kind of strange to see we've gone this long without an animated movie. Truly, there must be something for the kids.
We're back. A dinosaur story.
Where is Central Park? Did I do anything bad?
No, you were great.
My Jurassic, it did. Here we have another entry from Amblination. This one involves a group of dinosaurs souped up literally on brain food, get dropped into New York, and help some runaway kids learn some lessons like never hijack the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with a Thomas Dolby song, or make satanic deals with demented circus folk. Yeah, I know, I covered this one eons ago on the show, and come to think of it, I felt like I went a little too light on it. Gee, what did I say first time round about this flick?
All this rant and question over a kid's film. Because when you do the math, that's really who it was made for. This whole movie wasn't trying to be a huge masterpiece or the next big Disney classic. It was just trying to entertain the young and, in the process, alienates teens and adults with its nonsensical physics and fast-paced storytelling.
No, past me. There's no reason to use that as an excuse to go light and fluffy all over it. Truly, as a kid, I watched it a lot and enjoyed it for what it was. But as an adult, man, this was a mess to revisit. Albeit a fascinating mess.
And it gets more interesting when you peek behind the scenes and see what kind of a disaster the production was. Co-director Simon Wells said it best in an interview that there were too many cooks in the kitchen who had no idea or even a hint of a vision on how to adapt the book it was based from. Some wanting it to be lighter, while others steering it for a more darker direction. It got so bad that $1 million worth of alterations and last-minute additions were made after a poor test screening, including the addition of a song sequence at the very last minute. The movie flopped hard, and it's not too difficult to see why, given its convoluted storytelling and various cog pieces. The big marketing push on We're Back didn't help either, given one in particular served as quite an omen for the film's box office performance, as a Rex balloon made for that year's Macy's Thanksgiving Parade found little of it used due to the head getting popped from a street lamp. Personally, I'm still mixed about the whole movie, but it's still a guilty pleasure in my books. The animation is neat, I do enjoy some of the characters, the voice performances are good, but the entire story is too much of a mess for me to recommend. It's not the worst animated movie I've seen, but it's just stuffed with too much plot.
You know, something tells me this holiday season is not quite up to snub compared to the others we've experienced in the past. This just feels like I'm walking into a minefield of hit and miss, but there's more miss than I ever experienced. Yet, if I had to conclude this month on a more positive note, there is a little tiny piece of trivia that is worth discussing. It's a fast food gimmick that is quite gimmicky, but it is worth mentioning given how crucial it is to this season. And you'll see why.
McDonald's did a promo in the early 1990s called the Film Fest, where folks could purchase a breakfast or lunch sandwich for a movie they were licensed out to for $5.99. The year 1993 was a noble time for this gimmick, as Paramount authorized McDonald's to use 4 of their movies, 2 of which had sequels making its way to theaters that holiday season.
Gee, I wonder which sequels they were advertising this season. I can't guess at all.
What a novel concept. You could walk in, order a Big Mac, and select a home video they offered for your choosing. Some of the tapes in this 1993 release set included rebate offers and a special trailer reel for upcoming releases, along with a special appearance by George Takei. The promo was not without controversy, as a Baltimore watchdog group complained about how Wayne's World was included in the badge, given they were not too pleased to see a movie with sex humor and innuendos be offered in the group. Oh sure, not Addams Family for its dark humor, or Ghost for its morbid subject matter. McDonald's responded by saying the movies offered here were based on a survey of what was considered titles folks really wanted. In hindsight, I feel like more time and effort was spent marketing the gimmick as opposed to the sequels the gimmick was advertising. Just look at the label and how they mentioned Addams Family Values in Wayne's World 2 in tiny small lettering. No wonder this backfired. Would you even think for a second this was being used to promote 2 sequels that were expected to make big business for Thanksgiving and Christmas? Still, can't argue it's something like this which would make for a great stocking stuffer that year.
Still, on a lighter note, there's always the Mystery Science Year 3000 Turkey Day Marathon. Yeah, it's kind of a shame that Joel Hodgson left the satellite of love, but I'm not going to let that get to me. I'm going to go enjoy this yearly round Comedy Central tradition the way it was meant to be intended. You go ahead and watch these weird commercials we had around during this time frame. I'm going to grab a Big Mac, a Christmas gift, and I'll see you here when we cover the December flicks.
Now, it's time for ice cream. Or maybe some nuts. A cool glass of orange. Why not try a hot dog? Or a sparkling, ice-cool Pepsi. From the sales girls and in the foyer. Now.
Hurry to McDonald's Holiday Film Festival, featuring the classic Charlotte's Web, unbelievably priced at just $5.99 when you buy any large sandwich. Or get the hit Ghost.
Yes!
Or the Addams Family.
Showtime!
Or Wayne's World. Just $5.99 each when you buy any large sandwich.
No way.
You can see these new movies at theaters and own the originals. But hurry, because these values will be gone in a flash. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
The day after Thanksgiving. Forget the turkey and turn on the turtles.
Awesome!
They're coming at you with a bodacious,
Serves up, dude!
action-packed adventure for the whole family.
Whoa!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, hosted by the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. This Friday at 8/7 Central on Fox.
Strange and powerful forces are attracting people to Pizza Hut. It's the Marvel Comics X-Men video with a mini comic book, pull-out poster, and trading card, all for only $4.99 with any pizza purchase. There are 2 video packs to collect, so hurry and get your claws on them.
Oh, I'll wrap that up.
Exclusively at Pizza Hut.
Journey to a magical time when demons and heroes battled for the golden treasures and human spoils of forgotten kingdoms. Thrill to the story of a legendary superhero who fights through all the torments of hell to save the woman he loves from the world's most powerful sorcerer. This is Sinbad's Greatest Adventure. The incredible magic of Dinorama recreates the enchanted, breathtaking adventure that could never be told before. The 7th Voyage of Sinbad.
It's the story of Jack, the Great Pumpkin King, and 4 cool new watches at Burger King. To get a watch for $1.99 from the everyday value menu, order each time. New lower prices on food that's delicious, and see Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. 4 watches to choose from. Isn't that fine? Each one is different for $1.99. Watches from Burger King, just one more case of everyday value. I love this place.
See the sorcerer of the black arts, the death fight of the centaur on the griffin, the 6-armed goddess of evil, the savage siren on a rampage.
Hey, look who's here!
Look for a coupon in this weekend's newspaper. Bring it to Lowe's Foods, and when you buy 4 2-liter bottles of any Pepsi product, you get $1 off.
First came the 7th voyage, then the Golden Voyage, and now the legendary Sinbad faces all the forces of darkness. The sword-wielding ghouls, Mammoth Minotaur, the gargantuan troglodyte, in the ultimate dinorama spectacle, Sinbad's wildest adventure, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Rated G.
Starts Wednesday at theaters everywhere. Check your paper for theater or drive-in near you.
Hey! You still don't have a Sega CD? Huh? What are you waiting for? Nintendo to make one? You have seen the games, right? Wrong answer, man. Show 'em! Want to see more?
Hi, everybody. Dave, we're all worried. About what? You haven't ordered your holiday ham from my store.
Or the cookies I made for you.
Or your turkey.
Or your eggnog. Or your fruitcake. Yeah, what kids?
Nothing. Wendy's is making a new Big Bacon Classic Combo.
Oh.
It's a quarter pound of fresh beef, 3 strips of bacon, and the works with biggie fries and a cold drink. So this holiday, save your appetite.
And I thought you forgot my prune tart.
Who could forget that?
Try Wendy's Big Bacon Classic Combo today.
You can see these new movies at theaters and head for McDonald's Holiday Film Festival, where you can pick up the original videos, The Addams Family, or Wayne's World. Just $5.99 each when you buy any large sandwich at McDonald's.
Cool.
Also available, the children's classic Charlotte's Web, or Ghost. Just $5.99 each when you buy any large sandwich.
I was not aware of that.
But hurry, because they'll be gone in a snap. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
Proper care and feeding of a teenager. #1 rule. Don't let them drink alcohol. Rule #2. Never let them get into a car with a driver who has been drinking. Rule #3. Never, ever, under any circumstances, allow him to take illegal drugs. To grow up a happy, healthy teenager is important. If you love them, you'll take good care of them.
If you drink, don't drive. A reminder from WVOE Channel 8.
Well, even for a Misty fan like myself, that was a rather underwhelming Turkey Day marathon.
Yeah! Talk about how disappointing the marathon that was. And furthermore, how about that Mike J. Nelson? I miss the fatherliness of Joel Hudson. What is that Mike has him to him? Some Saturday Night Philly keeps getting all snookered up by a bunch of the robots. I miss that warm, cuddly chest that Joel had. Instead, it's more laid back and yeah.
Actually, I was referring to the... Wait, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm gonna voice my opinion straight on to the internets to know that I am a Joel fan.
I would not push it that far. The last thing I want to do is create a flame war among the fan base.
Dear Internet, I must cordially explain.
Honestly, I was just referring to how lackluster the bumpers were. The idea of a Halloween costume party is cute, but the execution was rather underwhelming. Oh well, there's always next year with Mystery Science Theater 3000. Let's get back into the spirit with the December lineup. And we must tread very carefully here, considering our first flick has danger laid in the title.
A dangerous woman.
You think you know everything about me, but you don't know anything.
That is so true. I've seen Misery way too many times to know where this goes, Deborah Winger.
I kid, but A Dangerous Wind falls in that category of movies where the lead performer aims for Oscar gold. Deborah Winger is a mentally challenged woman that has a tough life until a repairman comes into her own and romances her. For the most part, everyone is giving a good performance, but I'm sorry. I can't get behind a movie when the lead character is borderline annoying. I understand she's given a crutch, and I don't mean the intellectually disabled aspect. I mean, heck, I have Asperger's and I can manage. The hook is that she tells the truth and can't lie. So say if an employee steals money from the register...
I saw Ghetto, he took it right from the drawer, and then he put it down his pants like that.
Tell her to her face.
I saw you take 2 tens out of the drawer.
No!
It's probably not a good idea to reenact it when you're trying to explain it to your bosses.
If you can get past that, the rest of Dangerous Woman is fine, but it's not the Oscar winner it turned out to be.
For Deborah did not get Oscar gold, but she did get a Golden Globe nomination out of it. Which is better than nothing.
In comparison to our next feature, Stockard Channing did the same as well, but ended up getting a nomination for a Golden Globe and an Academy Award. Regardless, 6 Degrees of Separation is based on the play by John Gouar about a true life story of a con man that fooled a bunch of rich couples into thinking he was the son of Sidney Poitier.
The most amusing aspect about this movie, which sadly is not depicted in the trailer, is how the con man goes around and keeps telling people that his dad, Sidney Poitier, found a way to make an adaptation of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical Cats, and he keeps promising them that he could find a way to get them cameoed in the feature film, but don't worry, they won't be the felines, they be the humans. Oh, I would so pay good dear money to see the real-life counterparts' reactions to what we would get later down the road in life.
And before you ask, yes, that is Will Smith as a con man, and given this was 2 years before Bad Boys launched his stardom, he has a fine job here being sympathetic while also being mysterious. This is a movie you go in more for the performances, and they are solid. As an adaptation of the play, I don't think it fully works. There's a crucial closing monologue cut from the ending that would have driven the message home more, and its way of telling these events in flashback don't quite work. And there are times when the lines being spoken feel too thought-provoking to be taken serious. Now, that doesn't make it bad per se, I just feel the translation of the play should have been better here.
Come to think of it, even December is getting off to a rocky start. Albeit not terrible, but still a little shaky. Let's see what's going on in the boob tube.
Find out next Saturday. Welcome to the family, kids. Boomerang Theater presents The Flintstones, Holly Rockabye Baby.
Hey, sounds like my kind of Welch's Grape Jam.
Geronimo, a warrior, a leader, a legend.
On second thought, we hadn't had a good historical epic within the past couple of weeks. Let's see if they can change something around.
Geronimo, an American Legend, is really not that bad of a movie. It's taking the Apache War, and for a PG-13 rated feature, it's not afraid to show how tense things got with the Indian Removal Act. It's well shot, and the battle scenes are engaging alone. However, I do agree with the filmmakers that this movie should have been called by its original title, The Geronimo War. For something called Geronimo, an American Legend, there is so much focus on the fights between the Apache tribe and U.S. cavalry that Geronimo himself feels like an afterthought here. Wes Studi does a fine job portraying the Apache leader, and you do feel bad for what he has to go through seeing his people get hunted down, along with the eventual push for his surrender. However, Columbia thought they had another Dances with Wolves on their hand given the rising popularity of westerns at the time. But given the Apache tribe was more warlike, it's a clear thing that a spiritual venture was not in the cards here. Geronimo ended up being a box office flop, in fact losing more money than Last Action Hero, with Walter Hill blaming the negative reception and poor box office performance over a Ted Turner produced TV movie that played simultaneously when Geronimo was released.
That's like saying We're Back, a Dinosaur Story bombed at the box office because Prehysteria was released around the same time on home video.
Honestly, Geronimo is a visual splendor with on-site filming in Utah, Arizona, and California. It might not make my top 10 list at the end of this video, but I still think it's worth checking out.
And before we get to one other particular historical epic, let's see how the sequels are doing.
The Second Coming of Sister Mary Clarence.
Whoopee. Okay, God, I'll be nice with this one. I will. I think the most bizarre piece of trivia here is learning Sergeant Mac Elliott of Predator directed Sister Act 2. And while it's not as solid as the first one, it's a good sequel! It's a good sequel! I mean it! I mean it! I do remember watching this one more often in my teen years, and the interactions between Whoopi and the kids are kind of entertaining. Even if it's the cliched, let's put on a show and save the establishment routine. There's funny jokes! There's funny jokes! There's legit funny jokes! Like this one! This one!
Teach them to play soccer. We don't have the balls for that.
Yeah. Isn't that quite a knee slapper? Mm-hmm. Isn't it? Huh? On second thought, let's move on to another sequel that will not involve the wrath of a being that is far more high-powered than I am.
Wayne's World 2!
Yes! Wow. I'll take it.
Aside from Addams Family Values, Wayne's World 2 was the other sequel Paramount pulled all the stops out to sell as the big blockbuster event of the Christmas season. And why not? It was a follow-up that had everything. Wayne, Garth, Tia Carrera, Kim Basinger, the concert of the century, martial arts fights with James Hong, Christopher Walken, and most importantly...
An old man fashioning a kayak out of a log?
Every good sequel needs an old man fashioning a kayak out of a log. I'm not saying Robocop 3 would have benefited if it had that in there. But it might have.
While this one doesn't overpower the first one, it's on a similar level, something that can be enjoyed on its own. I dig Wayne's quest for responsibility by putting out the biggest rock concert ever made, and Garth starting to wonder if he should grow up more.
Take me, Garth.
Where? I'm low on gas and you need a jacket.
The movie doesn't have to be bigger and better, it just needs to be entertaining. And that's what it is. I'm even surprised to see Siskel and Ebert enjoyed both movies back to back. Even with Gene Siskel giving an idea for what the third movie should be.
One of the boys is faced with marriage and leaving the other one. I think it would be terrific.
That'd be terrible.
That is, if they ever do a Wayne's World 3. And if they do, I'd be kind of intrigued to see how they could do this in today's setting of YouTube videos, an online community, and podcasts. Maybe they take their local TV show intellect and try to apply it to that and get into some kind of trouble. It'd be a great way to be a unique commentary on the internet videos of today. But, sadly, it seems like that may or may not be possible.
Wayne's World 2 was not commercially successful given the amount of competition it had going for it. It made money, but not as big compared to first time around. It's also kind of ironic when you realize this and Coneheads are two SNL sketch-based features that had hard times at the 1983 box office.
I do not understand.
Still, don't let that get to you. There's quotable moments and fun things that still make this sequel worth checking out.
The more I think about it, I wonder if there is a sequel that I can bring my kids to see.
Universal Pictures and Ivan Reitman proudly present the greatest screen lovers of all time. Beethoven and Missy.
Oh, hell no. I already had my fill with Look Who's Talking Now, thank you very much.
Kind of love that leads to only one thing.
Puppies! Little Beethoven!
Lord almighty, it's finally happened. They gave birth to a franchise. Come on, kids, let's go see Addams Family Values again. At least I know that one's fun.
Don't give me those looks. The answer is no.
I can't say no to Charles Grodin.
I can't say Beethoven's second is better than the first one. I remember the first movie dealing better with the Newton family and their relationship with the St. Bernard, and this one has a cute idea, I will admit. But it's bogged down by Diet Coke Cruella de Vil trying to separate the dogs as Missy is in the middle of a divorce custody battle.
Again?
And she seeks to snatch the puppies for profit. And for something that starts off like a generic live-action Disney 101 Dalmatians adaptation, it suddenly becomes a summer valley vacation movie like The Great Outdoors. Even right down to an outdoor food competition with burgers. Yes, those might be a lot of patties to take in, but is it as legendary as the old 96er? I think not.
Bon appetit.
I do remember watching this one a lot as a kid and enjoying it, but as an adult, I find myself liking the first movie more for its simplicity. Here, there's too many plot elements and tones to even keep track of, but even weirder is the inclusion of a scene where the teenage daughter Rice is at a party, and she nearly gets sexually assaulted by one of her classmates. Thankfully, Beethoven saves the day, and, well, I have to unfortunately admit, I still get a laugh out of this.
Me as a kid is laughing over how this guy screams like the All Real Monsters logo. But yet the adult me is thinking maybe they could get away with something like this in the 1980s. But dude, even Hocus Pocus didn't stoop to that level. And even I'm kind of starting to apologize for my criticisms on the adult jokes in that flick.
We desire children.
Hey, that may take me a couple of tries, but I don't think that'd be a problem.
Ugh, I really need to wash this bad taste out. Maybe something on TV might do the trick.
First, she got mad.
Harry, you promised!
Then, she got big.
It's really for your own good, Nancy.
Now, she's getting even.
Put the hostage down and keep your hands up so we can see them.
Make me.
They'll never call her the little woman again.
Miss me.
Daryl Hannah is larger than life in the HBO original movie, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Hey, sounds like my kind of trash. I am so there. But I can't pass this one up. Schindler's List is perhaps Steven Spielberg's most adult movie to date, dealing with the horrors of the Holocaust and the portrayal of Oskar Schindler, who is so ambiguous that you wonder his ambition in saving many Jewish lives. Were his reasons due to observing the terrible things, or just for greedy ambition? What is considered good? What are the true evils and monsters that exist in our world? And can hope exist in times of darkness? It's questions like these that keep a movie like this aging perfectly, and the choice to film this in a black and white movie with a documentary style puts you in the right mindset, as it really strives to be realistic as possible. It is certainly not shy to show the horrors, and the lack of a musical score adds to key scenes, like the liquidation of the Jewish grotto. This is not an easy movie to watch, and I understand completely. Even Spielberg himself didn't know if he was qualified enough to handle such a topic such as this. He decided to view his position in making the movie as more of a reporter of the time period as opposed to a director just making a movie. In fact, he even had his family and Robin Williams on standby when things just got so unbearable. You really do feel the emotion of this film, and it's those aspects alone that make it such a true classic. It resulted in Schindler's List winning 7 Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Picture, and it led to more discussion and observation on one of the darkest moments in our history. I should address that at the end of these specials, I like to do a set of movies to recommend which I don't think get much attention today. So I will spoil right away that if I were to go with movies that objectively were considered the best of this holiday season, Schindler's List would easily get top spot. I swear it. Even then, I still encourage one to seek this title out like the many others on here, regardless of if they're good or bad. There are movies you see for enjoyment and others to experience emotions on wide ranges. This is more of an experience, and it should never go forgotten.
Now, with that said, if you're looking something for a little more enjoyable yet thrilling,
Julia Roberts, Denzel Washington, The Pelican Brief.
well, it's no Manchurian Candidate, but it's still pretty good. Based on a novel by John Grisham, the plot involves a young law student played by Julia Roberts who creates a theory document behind the recent death of 2 Supreme Court justices. While she dodges the FBI and assassins, a reporter of the Washington Herald played by Denzel Washington is given the case and ends up getting more than he bargained for, even right down to trying to save her life as even he gets caught up in the mess. For a political thriller about conspiracy theories and fishy government dealings, this is certainly worth your time. Even if the first half is a little slow, it does pick up and it gets more interesting. And as you go along and see the details of this infamous document, and why so many are after to extinguish its existence from the face of the earth, it gets fascinating to see how one small piece of information can create such a shakeup. All I can say is, less said the better, because it delivers high on entertainment. Yet, if you want something with more of a slice-of-life feel, check out What's Eating Gilbert's Grape, the coming-of-age story about a grocery store clerk and a peek into the lifestyle of his dysfunctional family that challenges his will to be a good family member, as well as a test on his patience. The performances are all around solid, with Johnny Depp being chilling as ever. I also like how it doesn't sugarcoat itself. You really do understand Gilbert's problems, considering the overwhelming stress of his family, from dealing with his overweight mother to Leonardo DiCaprio acting as Gilbert's intellectually challenged brother.
I saw a guy at the state fair who was a little bit bigger.
I haven't always been like this.
Why does it always happen to me?
Yeah, TLC channel? You can take your reality shows and shove them. The 1990s had it real, man, before you came along and exploited it. It's funny how this one was a box office bomb, barely making back its $11 million budget, yet the positive critical reception is really what kept this one alive for so long. And quite ironic too, given it wasn't the only slice-of-life drama that didn't do well at the box office.
You eat one of those every day?
No.
You were eating one yesterday, right?
Yes.
And you're telling me you don't eat one every day?
Yes. I eat 2 every day, one at 10 o'clock for my breakfast and one at 2:30 for my lunch.
I don't remember grumpy old men being this serious. I kid, but wrestling Ernest Hemingway feels very much like a more serious version of What's to Come. It's a drama about 2 old guys in Florida, both with different views of life that become unlikely friends, with one influencing the other on life values and how to improve themselves. I do enjoy how Richard Harris's performance of Frank is loud and outgoing, compared to Robert Duvall as the quiet and contained Walter, who would rather remain to himself and eat bacon sandwiches. It's a surprisingly sweet movie that makes images like urinating while watching fireworks look oddly charming. And I never thought in the 33 years of living on this planet I would ever say that. It got mixed reviews and only made $278,000 on a $20 million budget, but this is one that carries some sweet moments at best, so yeah, I'd say give it a rent. Last year in 1992, we had A Few Good Men that was the courtroom drama of the holiday season. And instead for this year...
Seeking representation.
You want to sue Wyatt, Wheeler, Hellerman, Tetlow, and Brown?
I was diagnosed with AIDS 8 months ago during a bout with pneumonia.
We get 2 good guys. In perhaps the most groundbreaking drama of its time. Philadelphia was notable for being the first mainstream Hollywood movie to not only address AIDS and homophobia, but portray gay people in a positive view. Now that is to be debated, but let's focus on the movie or else we'll be here all day. Philadelphia follows Tom Hanks as Andrew Beckett, a lawyer who ends up getting canned from work once his bosses find out he's infected with HIV. With reluctant help from another lawyer Joe, played by Denzel Washington, it becomes one hell of a court case to see if Andrew was mistreated. I respect this movie for breaking new ground and exploring certain topics that few mainstream movies at the time did little of, like questioning harassment of one's orientation and showing who is truly human or above the law. I do like how Joe is reluctant at first to take on the case, and he actually tries to find common ground with his client, despite his prejudices getting in the way. It's a well-made movie, and I do like its ambition. However, there are some problems I have that make this short of perfect in my opinion. They do try to make Andrew's bosses somewhat sympathetic at times, even though they are built as cookie-cutter antagonists. Once in a while, there's a moment where you do see they kind of regret the position they are in, but then a few scenes later, they'll go back into evil mode, like someone just messed with a switch in their brain. And while they do address Joe's homophobia well and where it stands in the case, there's one scene that bugs me where he gets hit on by a gay guy in a pharmacy and his flirting nearly gets him physically assaulted by Joe. I actually thought this was going to play a big part later on, but nope, nothing in that scene gets mentioned later. So it kinda hurts when you see Joe addressing his views on the court case when moments ago he nearly pulverized a homosexual. Lastly, Mary Steenburgen as the defendant's lawyer plays it so diabolical to the point I really feel bad for hating her here. She plays it too well, and it feels weird given I'm not used to see her take roles like this that are not this fierce. Still, I appreciate Philadelphia being noteworthy at the time. It might not have been perfect, but at least it was a step in the right direction.
You know, maybe I should take a break from going to the cinema this Christmas season and instead just spend time with the family. After all, there's gotta be something holly jolly and good on the boob tube this year for me to appreciate.
The plane was delayed, you've overeaten, gained weight, and put up with obnoxious relatives.
We'll be lucky if we get back alive.
So tonight, gather the family round TNT for an evening of real Christmas spirit. 7 movies that will scare the ornaments off you. Monster Vision, A Christmas Nightmare. Next on TNT.
Dear Santa, please give me a good reason to go to the movies on Christmas Day.
This Christmas, for the first time, America's most exciting and legendary motion picture hero comes to the screen like you've never seen him before. A soaring new adventure. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, the animated movie.
Thank you. Yeah, the greatest Christmas gift of all we shall ever see at this point. The best Batman movie you never saw in theaters. Wait, what?
I already covered a great deal of this movie prior, so I will try to avoid repeating myself. Mask of the Phantasm is one of those Batman movies that grew on me over time. I enjoyed it a lot as a kid, but as an adult, I've come to appreciate it as possibly the best we'll ever get of this superhero. It dives into understanding who Batman is and the difficult life choices Bruce Wayne had in becoming this side of himself, as well as what could have been if he went down a different path. I feel bad the theatrical release got botched given everything was last minute, but life on home video has proved this entry gets a new audience with each reissue. But would it hurt to at least give us a release that wasn't so bare bones? If you are a diehard enthusiast of this feature, Serum Lake did an audio commentary that is worth a listen. He includes animated series directors Dan Riba and Kevin Altieri, along with storyboard artist Brad Ratter, who share behind-the-scenes trivia, artwork, and even altered scenes not in the original film. Trust me when I say, it's worth the time taking a listen to.
So far we've had our share of grand historical epics, but nothing can prepare you for the ultimate battle of all depicted on celluloid.
Grumpy old men.
Why don't you do the world a favor and pull your lip over your head and swallow?
Idiot.
Eat my shorts.
What?
What?
So?
What?
That's right. Jack Lemmon versus Walter Matthau. Nothing can truly compare to the wrestling matches or the King Kong versus Godzilla movies that came before or after it.
What started out as two friends shouting over the fence becomes pure war as they try to win the affection of the new girl literally across the street.
Oh my God. Moldy. Worth fighting for.
See, women get obsessed with me. It's like one of them fatal attraction things.
It created a big career comeback for Matthau and Lemmon, who work off each other so well that you believe their characters had a history together. The winter setting really complements the cranky attitude these two carry, and the icing on the whole cake.
If I was a young fella like you, I'd be mounting every woman in Wabasha. Keep the chain.
Holy cliched 60s reference! It's the Penguin!
Looks like he's gonna enter the Holy of Holies. Coitus uninterruptus.
I'll be honest and say this is my favorite Burgess Meredith performance, given you do feel this guy refereed these two for a very long time. Yet he gets to shine a bit more better in the sequel, but one holiday movie review at a time here. No matter how old you are, Grumpy Old Men is the perfect rom-com for any age. It also feels weird that we got not one, but 3 movies from Warner Brothers on Christmas Day. While Mask of the Phantasm flopped and Grumpy Old Men succeeded, this one bombed harder than Mask of the Phantasm. Oh sure, that Batman movie took in $5.8 million on a budget of $6 million. Oliver Stone's Vietnam drama cost $33 million and only took in $5.9 million altogether. Even weirder was the release strategy. It played in 63 theaters on opening weekend and earned only $379,000. And for its wide release, it only expanded to 781 theaters.
Honestly, I don't know whose bright idea was it to have a movie play in less theaters and expect more money revenue out of it, but it truly says a lot when Mask of the Phantasm grosses more and earns a little bit of a bigger profit than Heaven and Earth, given that was released in over 1,500 theaters. Let that sink in, people. Let it sink in.
Looking at that aside, Heaven and Earth is based on 2 memoirs written by Leela, focusing on her experiences during the Vietnam War and her subsequent trying to adapt to life in the United States. I respect it tries to follow her story, and much like with Schindler's List, the movie is not afraid to showcase the horrors of the war and how much damage it brought. In fact, this was kind of a first to show the Vietnam War from the viewpoint of a Vietnamese villager. The problem I have is so much focus is placed on the war in the first bulk of the movie that when we get to the material of her trying to start a new life in America, it feels like a different movie. For a good majority of the time, you experience battles between the Viet Cong and Americans, villagers getting caught in the mix, Leeli's mistreatment among the family, as well as being forced to prostitute her own body in order to stay alive. It's hard and really devastating stuff, but when Tommy Lee Jones appears as a soldier that wants to help her escape, it kind of goes downhill. The material with her in America is so brief that it kind of feels overshadowed by the horrific nature of the stuff earlier. It's no wonder given this movie was adapted by 2 of her memoirs. Just seeing all this sandwiched into one movie is kind of tricky when you transition from one horrific thing and then go into another where there is a sense of light at the tunnel, but there's still some darkness to it along the way. Honestly, I feel like one of 2 things should have been done here instead. Make this either 2 movies or one giant 4-hour epic. Still, I give props for trying to present one's vantage point of the war here, but this one just fell very much in between for me. It's not the worst, not the best, it's just okay.
Hey, you know what we haven't had yet? A high-concept horror movie that doesn't care about how dumb its premise can get. Shocker did this better.
I like the idea behind Ghost in the Machine. A killer dies and his soul is uploaded into a computer system who kills his victims by possessing electronics. Sounds nuts, but there are moments when this one can be entertaining. Some of the kills are kind of unique, like one involving a microwave. And I do enjoy Karen Allen, who the killer is going after, once he obtains a digital copy of her address book. It's a movie that I kind of want to see get remade today, given the concerns of AI technology we currently have, and I believe it can be done scary. At the same time, though, this movie reeks of 1993, and lord, it can get silly. I did have a good time seeing this campy creation, but I can't deny how dumb it is, especially when the killer ends up in the computer system via CAT scan hit by lightning. This movie either had to be campy like Wes Craven's Shocker, or a little more serious like Child's Play. And sadly, Ghost in the Machine is none of those. It stays in the middle of the road and doesn't really go far enough with the idea. There's over-the-top kills, and some pretty bonkers moments like the random Tron VR game. But it doesn't stick well compared to the other killer, soul-possessing random object movies that exist. And even that's a weird genre to keep track of today.
Well, this is it. We got one movie left this holiday season, and it's time we asked the ultimate question we've been waiting for.
Any last words?
Nope.
What do you want on your tombstone?
Pepperoni and cheese.
Time for Tombstone Pizza.
Wow! Nice segue.
It will probably come as a shock that I never had the chance to see Tombstone up until now. It's hard to say why. Lack of interest in westerns, had too many other titles to focus on. Well, the benefit of these holiday movie reviews is to catch up on these well-enjoyed features so many have been telling you about. And man, this one did not disappoint.
It's funny how many reported on the production problems this feature had, and a lot of critics wondered if something good will come out in the end. And the best news I can say is, a great movie came out of all that. By sheer miracle and coincidence, it did. It did provide us a great, great movie.
The perfect cast, the perfect level of tension, it's fictionalized history, but it represents the time period without insulting your intelligence. We get tons of amazing character performers really giving their all. Even if well-known folks that get short bits still leave a mark, like Billy Bob Thornton. I also like how Kurt Russell's Wyatt Earp is doing all he can to keep a town under control. He knows that one wrong move will lead everything to hell.
Run! Tell all the other curs the law's coming! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear?
And no wonder Val Kilmer was hired to play Batman after Joe Schumacher saw him in this movie. Val's take on Doc Holliday is so solid that you really feel like this guy is counting away the minutes till his final days. A has-been gunslinger that is trying to put away the past, but knows he can't run away from it. What I also find amusing is how Kevin Costner was originally set to be part of this movie, but he left after disagreements with the focus of the narrative, leading to him to produce his own Wyatt Earp, with blackjack and hookers. In fact, minus the last two.
Spoiler alert, it flopped. While Tombstone continued to become a commercial success.
It's a movie that's quotable, became a respectable cult film over the years, and it's surprises like these which keep me from doing these holiday movie review specials.
But we still haven't asked the biggest question of all. How do you like your Tombstone? Theatrical cut or director's cut? Personally, I say director's cut all the way. The little additions do make up for it. Though it's kind of a wonder why this particular edition is not on Blu-ray. Oh well. That was 1993 in a nutshell, and ironically enough, I look at this in two particular aspects.
The movies of November were kind of rocky to get through. Nothing really stood out aside from a handful of flicks here and there. I do appreciate how some were trying to provide a radical assortment of entertainment, but nothing really stood out to me outside of the obvious hits. Now, that's not to say this was a bad month, but there were more misses than hits. December, on the other hand, felt like an improvement. It felt like a can of air freshener with epic storytelling, major risk takers, and some solid crowd pleasers. It might not have been enough to fully redeem the season as a whole, but it was good enough to end 1993 on a decent high note.
And of course, I must give unto you my personal top 10 picks of movies that you must see and not skip out on. True, we did have a couple of good gems here and there, and if I were to go with objectively the best movies of this season, I would probably have Schindler's List and Mrs. Doubtfire tied at the top spot. Personally, these are movies in my opinion that deserve a little more watching and loving, so agree to disagree. In no particular order: Ed and His Dead Mother, The Saint of Fort Washington, Disney's The Three Musketeers, Wayne's World 2, The Pelican Brief, Addams Family Values, A Perfect World, and my top 3 rentals that you must see are Carlito's Way, Tombstone, and Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which gets the Golden Fox approval statue. I will admit, when looking over the list of movies I had to cover for 1983, I knew that title would earn it. Not just because we lost Kevin Conroy, but it's truly a feature that deserves it. And as for the worst of this season, Robocop 3 almost earned it. Almost. But after thinking deeply, I'll give it to Josh and Sam. I'm still in pure shock over how a movie like that would get made and how many bad decisions the characters would take. It's not a fun bad you talk about to friends like Rob Reiner's North or Hudson Hawk. It's the kind where the more I talk about it, the more it gets under my skin and burns deep into my bones. So far, I feel these 1990 holiday movie seasons have been doing alright, but I don't think we've hit the mainstream era just yet. Though I got a pretty good hunch we will next year, given what 1994 has in store for us. If we were to look deep in the future, we would see a Prestige Monster Mash, Peter Jackson getting in on the game, 2 Santa movies for Thanksgiving, one of them a court case, and the other a Tim Allen movie. Ho ho ho! A new generation of dumb. No Disney animation again. Macaulay Culkin's last gleaming before getting even with Dad. Dana Carvey, John Lovitz, and Nicolas Cage trying to pull the ultimate Christmas heist. More Oscar baiting. Where were you, Steve Martin? I sure did miss you. Dual bad video game adaptations. Little Women. And most importantly of all... Oh no. Oh, no. If that flick's gonna be on the roster, I'm calling quits. We're getting that, too? Damn it! I don't want to miss out on a comedy classic. Alright, you got me. 1994, our next destination will be. Of course, in order to get there, we gotta go through this year. No matter what good, bad might come our way, I'll always look forward to these holiday movie reviews, no matter the... Wait a minute. Those fireworks or shells getting rounded off?
The Misties are attacking! The Misties are attacking! 30 seconds! And sure enough, it all explodes! AOL, Prodigy, and whatever hosting websites existed in the 90s! It's Mike versus Joe, and it won't stop! It's a flame war, I say! A flame war!
Cat, did you have something to do with this? Second thought, let's do the super happy holiday gift exchange ending. Merry Christmas, Megan.
Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas, Morgan.
You shouldn't have. You know what? You open yours first.
Hey, I will. Oh, I can't wait to see what you got me. Oh, Ghost. Thank you.
Because nothing says Merry Christmas like a Patrick Swayze Christmas.
Indeed.
Ooh, if it is what I think it is. Ooh, please be Wayne's World. Please be Wayne's World. Oh, no! Charlotte's Web!
I thought you liked Charlotte's Web.
I do. Wait a minute. You wanted Addams Family. I wanted Wayne's World. It's the thought that counts.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get it right next year.
Yeah.
Happy, merry, whatever.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Cheers. And now, two movie critics fight each other while using Sega Activator body rings.
You got nice shorts, Rod. I'm referring to the box.
Oh,
Very close.
so what do you mean close? I won.
This round, let's go
Okay,
for
here
round
we go.
2.
How about it? You gonna walk up? Here, I got you. Uh-oh, I'm cut.
Oh, I should win this round. Oh, crushed me. You crushed me.
30 to 15. I landed 30 blows. You had to land at 15?
Unbelievable.
Hey, Stinky is coming up here. He's only 20th ranked. It's time for an upset. I'm firing.
I think the only way I can win is with a knockout. I knocked him out!
Oh, no!
I knocked him out in the last second!
Oh, no, and I was ahead on points. Well, you were 7th ranked. I was only 20th ranked, so that's it. I mean, I guess...
Oh, in other words, the computer overrode your human possibilities, right?
I did a pretty good job.
How about in the first 2 rounds? Yeah, the computer was operating there, too.
I won the first 2 rounds. I won the first 2 rounds.
Well, this verbal fight will continue for years, we hope. As we always say at this time of year, season screenings, everyone.
I like how after watching an emotional movie like Cocoon, something silly comes out of this. Believe me when I say those are actual vintage.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Never been open, too.
Exactly.